I spent most of my 20s working really hard. Just to give everyone a bit of context, I worked 6 days a week for nearly 1 whole year without any break. And on a lot of weekdays, I would work till 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. The stress and the fatigue were really taking a toll on me, but I just kept going because I thought that was what being successful was all about. And to reward myself, I spent the little spare time I had on shopping and collecting nice things. Even when my collection was way more than I could use for my daily life, it looked so small and unexciting compared to what I saw on social media. So I kept buying more and more, hoping I would arrive at this eternal happiness someday somehow. It was hard for me to conceptualize this at that point, but a lot of my unhappiness and problems came from my desire to compare myself to other people. I think I always had this tendency to compare myself. Even as a child, I would compare myself to my sisters, neighbors, relatives, and then my peers. When social media came into the picture, however, this desire to compare myself was amplified many times over. For the longest time, I would dream about having a certain body shape, living in a certain house, driving a certain car, and owning a luxury handbag collection of a certain size. And as I said before, things got a bit out of control because I was obsessed with overworking just to chase what everyone else had. Truthfully, if I hadn't come across minimalism, my life would have run a very different course. That said, while it really helps to practice routines like limiting the time I spend on social media and curating the content I watch, the biggest turning point for me is that I now see social media in a very different light, and let me tell you why. So, being on social media myself, I know life is never perfect, no matter how shiny things might look on the outside. While I'll never fabricate anything, I don't show everything either, such as the ugly coffee stain on my carpet, the messy living room, the pile of laundry waiting to be done, or the fact that I'm actually wearing my pajamas pants while filming this. All these make me realize everyone, including the people I really look up to, have their fair share of problems and struggles. And this doesn't just apply to the world of social media. In my day job, I get to meet a lot of people on a daily basis, and just to break the ice, I like to ask them about their work, passions, and families. From these conversations, I notice one thing in common, and that is people might be having a hard time, but they just choose not to show it because life has to go on somehow. And just to put things into perspectives, please allow me to share a personal story because I think it will really help to shine some light on why comparison is a fool's errand. So there are 2 people in this story. The first one is a family friend, and let's call him John. John always looked like he lived the best life because he drove the nicest car, lived in a mansion, quite often dined in the finest restaurants, and always dressed himself in designer brands. To everyone, including his wife, it really looked like he was happy and successful. Then there's my husband's cousin, Michael, who's always been very frugal and he enjoys a very simple life. In fact, to some people, it might even look like a very boring and mundane life. I think if we go by society standard, most people would see John as the winner in life. However, contrary to what everyone thought, John had been in a lot of debt and he very sadly ended up taking some very desperate actions. On the other hand, it turns out Michael has been building a very solid investment portfolio. He recently decided to take some time off just so he can be there for his newborn baby and to support his wife as a new mother. When we asked him, he said his plan is to stay off work for as long as he feels like because his investment can quite comfortably sustain the family. It really is lovely to see they can get to spend this precious time together without the pressure of having to make ends meet. Every time I look at how things turn out for John and Michael, I'm always reminded to never judge a book by its cover, and more importantly, do not blindly chase the arbitrary success. Now, I would be lying if I said I had completely let go of the urge for comparison, but it's certainly nothing like it was. Sometimes I feel like comparison isn't always necessarily a bad thing, as long as we channel that energy into something positive. Instead of feeling jealous or envious, I now try to find inspirations from other people. For example, instead of focusing on the net worth of someone like Elon Musk, I want to know more about how he got to where he is and how he overcame his fear and the many challenges along the way. Similarly, instead of resenting someone with a big following, I'm more interested to know how they create incredible and engaging videos. This is why I really appreciate a learning platform like Skillshare. I've been learning on Skillshare for a year and a half now. And for those of you who don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community where you can learn about everything, including filmmaking, baking, illustrations, personal finance, and so much more. This really is an amazing space because everyone is here to learn and support each other. You won't see any ads on Skillshare, so you can really focus on the classes. About 2 months ago, I took a class by Aaron Palapyap, and it's called Shoot Engaging Videos on Your Own. Aaron is not only an expert in the filming industry, he's also a natural when it comes to teaching. I really enjoyed his sense of humor, but more importantly, I got a lot of inspirations from his class. Since the beginning of this year, I've been experimenting with my videos. Some of you might have noticed I now include details like modeling clips and shots for my wardrobes and also everyday life. It was quite scary at first to share my life with the world, but I think these little changes have helped to make my videos more engaging. Whether if you're hoping to pick up a new skill, explore your creativity, or look for inspirations, I highly recommend checking out Skillshare. And for those of you who are interested, I have a link down below for you guys, and the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code Colorful Noah will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership for 1 month. Around Christmas time last year, I read a book and a line really stuck with me. It goes, rather than trying to be someone else, it's always better and easier to be yourself because in the whole wide world, there's only one of you. So really, you shouldn't have to worry about competition or comparison if you just be you. I know this might sound a bit cliche, but I really think there's so much truth in this one sentence. For me, self-acceptance is a big part of letting go of comparison. I know I'm not perfect, but I am unique, so is everyone else in their very own way. While I'll never stop improving myself, that is quite different from overstretching myself just to chase an ideal that doesn't really exist. I know happiness and self-worth can mean very different things to different people. But if we just take away the comparison element from the equation, I think we'll realize happiness has very little to do with how many designer handbags we have or how big our wardrobes look. Even though I no longer trap myself in a constant cycle of comparison, I feel like it's unrealistic to completely free ourselves from the urge to compare. The truth is, I still have days when I feel like I'm not good enough, I don't measure up, or I wish I could do better. On days like these, I like to bring myself close to nature. There's something so very comforting about spending time in nature. The trees never care about how my hair looks. The birds pay no attention to how much money I make, and the river has no interest in my bag collection. Mother Nature just always welcomes us the way we are, and here I never feel the pressure or the need to compare myself to anyone or anything. I would love to know if you ever have the tendency to compare yourself to other people, and in what context. Is it job title, earning potential, or physical possession? I think we'll see some very interesting conversations down below, so please share your thoughts. If you're new here, my name is Eileen. On this channel, we talk a lot about luxury minimalism and intentional living, and I would love for you to join our lovely community. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Until next week, take care and have a nice day.